Here we go. Hey, how are you this evening? And I want to ask you right out of the gate, where do you find inspiration? And how many things come up for you when it comes time for you to have opportunities to discover inspiration? To me, inspiration is one of the most powerful components of being an entrepreneur, trainer, coach, leader, speaker, author, whatever it is that has to do with you expressing it. Also, I mean, every aspect of life, as I'm just saying that, I think about all the times when I was designing jewelry, or when I was in architecture school, or my bachelor of fine arts, or any of that. All of it came from inspiration. We got Valentine's coming up, and I want you to think about what inspires you to create something different within your life, right? Like every single moment of your life, you are creating. Every breath you take, you are creating. Every thought you have is in the process of creating something that you're going to manifest. So what you want to do is you want to get real intentional on what it is that you want to create, and then figuring out where it is that you get to be inspired by in order for you to go through the 5 eyes process that I talk about in the potential code, because this is hugely important. So let's just start this whole conversation about what is inspiration. Like, what does it mean to inspire? And is it finite or is it infinite? And this is a great question, because literally understanding that life happens through you, not for you or to you, it happens through you. And think of the word understanding. That means, like, what is underneath your unconscious or your subconscious is what you are standing on. And this determines what it is that you see. And so let me just talk about this real quick. Okay, so the word inspire literally means God breathed, divine breathed, breathe from a higher source, whatever works for you, but it's something about breathing into from a higher source into who you are, right? So think about every time you breathe, you are breathing in and you are exhaling, you are giving. So I want you to start thinking about, well, there was a time in back in Bible days, and this isn't about the Bible, but it's a great metaphor. There's some incredible takeaways, obviously, from the Bible. There's lots of amazing content there. But there was a time when they weren't able to pronounce the word of God, right? And if you think about, then they came to this place where they were able to communicate Yahweh, Yahweh, right? So thinking about life, breath is all about what it is that we inhale and what it is that we exhale. And every time that we inhale, understand that it is integrating within who you are because of your understanding. Like, you perceive things in this world unlike anybody else, because nobody's ever had the experiences you've had. Nobody's read the books that you've read. Nobody's gone to the seminars and all the trainings and all the conversations and all the decisions and all the memories, all the experiences. Nobody's had all that but you. Right? So the first part of this is learning how to value what it is that you are receiving when you have experiences. Right now, experiences in itself is neutral, right? Like we are the ones that project onto the experience, and whatever we project onto that is what is a reflection of who we are. Right? Life is a reflection of who we are, right? And how the narratives that we create about each and every experience. So just that in itself, I would encourage you to take that on as an opportunity for you to be inspired about you are the author of your life, right? Like, you are the author of your life. That means that every single moment you have of every single day, of every single week, of every single month, every single year, every single decade, on and on, you are the one that is creating the story about this. Right? So think about that, right? And so if you look at inspire, God breathe, divine breathe, universe breathe, higher source breathe, whatever that means to you, how much do you tap into that? Like, how much do you value what it is that you are receiving? Because, friends, understand, there are so many different things, like massive things that have happened that have shaped the history of mankind forever, that there were men across different places within the planet that got inspired at the same time. Right? Like, there is super conscious, right? And whether they figured to tap into it or not, I believe that they had the ability to, because one of them, in the case that I'm talking about, was Tesla, right? Like, Tesla and Copernicus, I think it was not Copernicus. It was it? No, it wasn't Gutenberg. Marconi. It was Marconi. Those two developed the radio at the same time, and both of them were across the world in different places of the world. And it was just, I think, within the last 5, 6 years that Tesla got credited for it. Mahoney credited in the beginning, but now they've given it to Tesla. I mean, what Tesla? If you haven't looked up Tesla and looked at what this guy's been through in his life, oh my gosh, this guy was genius, right? Like all the electricity that we have today was because of Tesla, right? So he was able to tap into a source greater than himself. Like he always said, when you start seeing everything as vibration, frequency, and energy, your life will change. And that's how he saw life. And there's lots and lots of amazing things that this man created that should be an inspiration for you. Like a great way to think about. So here's something I really want to share with you. So I talk about this way more in depth in my potential code. But understanding there's 5 steps to this, right? First of all, you get inspired. Then that inspiration goes into immersion. Like when you give yourself permission and understand the value of everything that you will be inspired by, you start going into immersion. And then it goes into incubation and it starts growing and expanding. And then it starts integrating into who you are. And then you have no choice but to implement it, right? So think of a baby being born, right? Like a seed is created, goes into the womb, 2 eggs meet, boom, the whole gestation period. And turns into a fetus, it turns into a baby, and then the baby has to come out, right? Like it's reached its place, it's reached his ability to expand, and it has exceeded beyond the process of where it is at, got it to that stage. Think about what I just said. It has exceeded the process of what is that keeps it in that particular stage. So now it has to be birthed. It has to be birthed, right? So the more you receive inspiration, like I'm just sharing this, and this isn't about me, but I'm just sharing you with different things that I have done over the decades to really embrace this whole thing called inspiration. I was about 15 years ago, I was on a cruise with a bunch of like-minded entrepreneurs, and we were talking about amazing things and internet marketing and network marketing and all this stuff. And this quote just came to me. It's just like, live your life like your life depends on it. And this guy's like, wow, that is an amazing quote. That is like amazing. And this is what started my journey, right? Like I had this opportunity, like when I almost took my life and my sister's life in my car accident, right? I never in my wildest dreams ever thought that would be something that would inspire other people to transform their lives into new possibilities, right? But your challenges that you've gone through is somebody else's inspiration, right? So in this process that I started, I got introduced to this whole concept of live a life that demands rigorous honesty. Like you being so honest with yourself that your life depends on it, right? Like if you started inventorying your life and started looking at every single thought that you have in your life and every emotion and every relationship and everything else, if you started assessing it and inventorying it, you're going to be blown away, right? So what I did is I took that quote and opened up Evernote. I think I had documents back then. I think I was before Evernote was even out. And well, of course it was because we had Razor phones back then. But once I started getting Evernote, what I did is I just started having these inspirational quotes, like reading somebody else's quote, reading a book, something like that, and just paraphrasing is how I started out. And then just all of a sudden, I started downloading all these different quotes. Today, I have well over 1,000 quotes that are mine. Now, it's taken me 15 years to build that, but there's not a week that doesn't go by that I don't add to my quote list, right? So how much do you value your inspiration? So like, okay, here's another thing. I'm big on pens, right? So if I gave you, so for me, I'm a pen freak. Like, I call them writing instruments. They mean a lot to me because these are the tools of my expression, right? And I want to do everything I can to create an atmosphere or an environment that allows me to enjoy it as much as possible. So this is why I have really high dollar writing instruments, is because it makes this experience that much more enjoyable. But let's just pretend that I came up to you one day and I said, you know what, this writing instrument means the world to me. This instrument has been responsible for me creating my books. It has been responsible for me 15, 20 years. I have one that I've had, wow, it's coming on 30 years that I've had one of these pens. Actually, it is 30 years. And I've got like 3 or 4 that are just really, 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 really important to me. But let's say I decided to go, okay, cool. I'm going to give you this pen to be a reflection of sharing with you that I want to support you in your journey. I want to do everything I can to give you some possibilities and opportunities and some tools that will expand who you are, right? Like, this is what I want to do. So I hand you my writing instrument. You're like, oh, no, I can't take that. I can't take that. It just, no, that's yours. Don't. And so over time, I keep wanting to offer it to you and you don't take it, right? And then one day I'm just like, oh, cool. I'm going to go give it to somebody else that's going to value it, right? So what if you looked at inspiration like that, right? Like inspiration is a frequency, right? It's like you tapping into like an AM and an FM radio cell tower, or not cell tower, but radio, AM or FM radio waves, and tapping into that and then being able to tune it to get to the radio station that you want. It's the same thing with inspiration. It's a frequency, right? Like you're tapping into super conscious. And the more you're able to get the things out of the way that prevents you from receiving it, the more you're going to receive it. Like I've got weeks where I'll just download tons and tons and tons of information. Like right now, right on the inner side over here, I have a massive whiteboard that I had created. That in itself was a 15-year journey of what I had. I had this idea of whiteboard moments, and I was just going to teach people on the whiteboard. And I had like a $1,000 whiteboard made. Never, I utilized it a couple times, but now I have this whiteboard right in front of me. And this is where all week long, I'll be studying, I'll be learning, I'll be meditating, I'll be doing different things that inspire me. And then I'll come in here and I'll write it down. And then my Mastering Potential group gets a lot of this, right? So I want you to understand inspiration is always wanting to communicate to you, right? And so one way to do this is like I'm speaking to you right now, and as I'm speaking to you, there's certain things that are coming up inside of you, and it's like, wow, that's interesting. Didn't think of that. This is all inspiration coming at you, right? Like if you are sitting there and you're watching somebody speak, and you're like, wow, this person is amazing. She's articulating things really well. She communicates really well. She's saying things that are landing in ways that nobody else has ever done. The reason that you are noticing that is because there's a part of you that wants to be called out, that is being called out. Otherwise, you wouldn't notice how this person is related to you. You wouldn't have the notice moments of you making the distinction of what is it about that, what about this person is really drawing you towards them. This is all inspiration. Like you can read an article. And so now I am, well, I'm just going to be blunt. If you think the Bible is the only place to see God, you miss the message. I'm just saying it like that, right? The Bible is a mechanism to direct you to God, right? It's a mechanism. And so I seem to think that like there's a term called Lectio Divina. Lectio Divina is something like you read something and it just speaks to you. It's just like, wow, this is like real, like stirring something up inside of you. It's like there's so much more here than what I'm being able to see, right? And so you can stop and ask and tap into your higher self and go, what are you wanting to communicate to me? What is it about this that is landing for me in a way that caught my attention? This is a notice moment. And the more you get in touch with these notice moments, you're going to start understanding that there's a deeper aspect of you that wants to connect with your conscious and come to life. It wants to be birthed. There's a seed that wants to germinate. And what determines when that seed is going to germinate is how much you're feeding that seed, right? Like if you don't nurture the seed's going to die, right? So understanding that this is how it works and asking yourself questions that unlock new possibilities for who you are, right? Because you were meant to do great things in your life. And that doesn't mean that it has to be a lot of people. It doesn't mean it has to be a lot of views on a video. It doesn't mean it has to be over the top. It just means that there's a part of you that wants to make a greater impact on this world, because happiness comes from progression, like you being able to be of service to others. That's where fulfillment comes from, is you being able to be of service to other people, right? And using the things that have happened to you. Now there's lessons, right? Like we all have lessons. And when you have lessons, we're going to keep attracting situations into our lives that are going to continuously remind us of the lesson until we learn what it is that we are supposed to learn from that, right? And the more we embrace this process, the more you're going to be able to accelerate through it, because when we resist something, we anchor it to us, right? Like what we resist will persist, and you're giving it energy and you're wanting to push it away and you're not wanting it to be what it is. But the reason it is because there's a lesson for you to learn. And so be inspired by the things that challenge you. Be inspired by the things that make you feel uncomfortable, right? Like one of my things is become familiar with the uncomfortable, because the more you program yourself to understand that's in the uncomfortableness that you get to discover new aspects of who you are. And in the uncomfortableness, you are going to expand to a new version of who you are so that you can thrive in that new environment. Every time you step out of the comfort zone, you are creating a new comfort zone, right? But see, most people think that inspiration is just gifted to certain people. No, it's not gifted to certain people. It's a skill. Tapping into inspiration is a skill, right? And the more you develop that skill, the more you're going to be able to, like when I started down this journey of like really becoming a coach, and I mean, I've been coaching for a long, long time, long before I decided to become a professional full-time coach. Long before that, I'd been coaching a long, long time. Didn't recognize it, but I got inspired, right? I started to put myself into situations and environments that were optimized to expand the people that were in that environment. See, this is the other thing, is how much does your environment support your inspiration? But I started having some things happening, and I was just like, man, I mean, how do you know what book to read? How do you know what questions to ask? Like, this was the beginning of my journey, friends. I have hundreds, I have thousands of books, but I have hundreds that I haven't even read yet. And it's like I get on a topic, and see, I've learned to pay attention to the direction of my inspiration. See, here's another part that really adds a lot to this, is that how was your intuition met as a child? Right? Like how, because it's instinctual for a child when they're hungry, they cry, right? Or when their diaper is soiled, they cry. They let you know that there's things going on. But if what was going on naturally for you as a child, just being an infant, wasn't met in your environment, and it was met with intense energy, it was met with rejection or indifference or whatever, it created an unpleasant experience for you, you're going to shut down your intuition, right? Because there's parts of you that want to protect you, right? Like your ego wants to protect you. And if we have painful experiences where we were humiliated, which keeps us in shame, if we had that as a child, then we are not going to want to tap back into that, right? So the more you relearn to release what it is that keeps you from experiencing and developing and strengthening your intuition, the more you release those things, the more your richer life is going to become. I just had an experience, it was probably 4 or 5 months ago now, where we had to just tap in, connect with somebody, and then just pay attention to whatever came up. And I'm like, okay, cool, here we go. And I had this vision for her, and I started telling her what I saw, and I saw children and playgrounds and all these different things. I mean, there was a lot that came up for me. And I went, okay, I'm just going to take a risk. I'm going to share it with her and see. And she just starts crying when I shared that with her, because it was so spot on to what she wanted to create in her own life. See, friends, we got inspiration coming all the time. But see, the thing that keeps us, this is the big thing that separates us, that keeps us from stepping into it, is we don't trust ourselves, right? Because we've had some humiliating experience in the past where we received something and we wanted to deliver it to our authority figures in our lives, and we got shunned, we got humiliated, we got laughed at, right? And we went, I'm not ever doing that again, right? Like this has been one of my biggest journeys, is me embracing the creativity, right? Because I was taught that my creativity separated me from some of the people that I love, but it was done by somebody else's narrative of what they kept telling me, right? So really understanding that inspiration is all around you, opportunity is always around you. An opportunity multiplies to the person that seizes it. Same thing with inspiration. Inspiration multiplies to the person that receives it, because it's like somebody here appreciates it, right? Like, and most people struggle with receiving, right? They want to be in control and give all the time. They want to feel needed. They want to feel significant. We all, friend, I'm telling you my own journey, right? This isn't about judging anybody. It's about me reflecting on my own journey as well. So, getting really intentional about documenting your notice moments. You have them all the time. And the more you document it, the more energy you are going to free up to be able to notice more of them. Because what happens is, if you have an inspiration and then you spend energy wanting to remember it. So now you're taking all this energy to remember this thing, and guess what happens? Most of the time I end up forgetting about it anyway. But if we document it, now we can utilize that energy that we were wanting to remember what it is that we were inspired by. We can use that energy to start compounding on top of what we were inspired by, right? Like, this is like, in the last 2 years, I've written 4 courses. I've created 4 courses. I've done a international best-selling book. I've written another one. I'm in the process of writing another one. I've done 2 masterclasses. I mean, and I'm not saying this to impress you. I'm saying to give you and share with you opportunity of how it happens, right? Like, you have inspiration, you immerse yourself, it incubates, it integrates, and then you implement, right? And there's like this, go look up the exponential, or the hockey curve of exponential growth, right? Like, you get to this place and then you just have no choice but to birth it out, right? So like, I can look at a word, and I have all these words for different videos. Like, I can sit down today and knock out 60 videos. Just, I mean, knock them out, right? Because I accumulate lots of different words. And see, I could write out a list of different topics on whatever, when it comes to psychology, performance, potential, any of that. I can write out all these different topics that I see people being challenged with. And then I could go through and give my thoughts on all of them. And then 6 months later, come back and do the same thing. And it would be completely different videos, because I'm going to be a completely different state 6 months from now. I'm going to be having a lot of things that are going on in my life that's going to allow me to access different information within myself. And it's going to be a different teaching, right? So just understand, inspiration is always evolving. So is our progression, right? Like, we're always evolving. So I hope this is helping you, my friend. And if you haven't got over the potentialzonegroup.com, get over there. There's a lot of amazing stuff over there, and I share lots and lots of content. And also, I am going to be teaching a masterclass coming up, so get over to masteringpotential.com. Not want to miss this. Last week in the Mastering Potential masterclass, oh my gosh, we had some amazing breakthroughs, and people are just, I mean, it's amazing what these people are creating. It's amazing what we create when we get the limitations out of the way. And this is the life, this is the journey, this is the dance, right? Of learning to find out what it is that's standing in our way, having the courage to face what it is that we don't want to face, facing it, and then trusting our ability to move through whatever we get to move through in order to create the version of us that is necessary to what we want to manifest in life. That's the secret, right? So, get over to masteringpotential.com and sign up for that workshop. You will be glad that you did. And appreciate you being here, my friend. Please share this video if you've seen it, and it might bless somebody else that really needs to hear this message. So if you could share that, that would be great. It'd mean a lot to me. Comment any takeaways that you had below. That would also mean a lot to me. Again, I'm here to serve you. I'm here to do everything I can. I'm on a mission to create as many powered up, full potential leaders that I can. And I'm going to do everything I can. This is my mission, because I know where I came from and I knew what it took for me to get here. And I want to do everything I can to shorten somebody else's learning curve. So I appreciate you being here, my friend. Much love, as always. I appreciate you spending your valuable time, because we never get it back. And so have a great evening, morning, noon, wherever you're at. And know I love you and I appreciate you. And as always, my friend, live like your life depends on it. Because it does, and you deserve the best. Thank you for your time. Please, thank you, April. I appreciate that. Please comment below your biggest takeaway, and I'll see you next time. Till then, get over to the potentialzonegroup.com. You'll be glad you did. Join that community of potentializers. It's amazing. It's really, really fun over there. So have a great time, my friend. Be blessed.